If you're at all a fan of the Civilization franchise, you may be interested in the latest title to hit the Stadia storefront from Sega, and that's Humankind. It's a 4X strategy game that's very similar in vein to the previous mentioned franchise. That being said, it does incorporate its own unique twist to the overall formula, with the biggest difference being that Humankind allows players to create their own leader entirely from scratch using a detailed character creation suite. There are some recognizable names within the game, but you can really tell that the main focus is on you doing everything from scratch. That's why another really big change is the fact that you can change culture between eras. Unlike in Civilization, you don't have to choose one from the very start and see through it to the very end. Every brand new era produces a new opportunity to switch culture or continue with your existing one. And when talking about combat, there's a very big change here too, as it introduces its own special layered map and you can use multiple units to engage an enemy. That said, there is an instant resolution button to quickly go through it without you having to do any of the manual work there, and you're just gonna find out who ends up winning. And really, that's just scratching the surface of all the major changes within the game. There's also a branching civic system, a policy system, and much more. Now, as for my first impressions of the game, I need to make it clear that this is coming from the perspective of someone who does not play these games whatsoever. I've probably spent a total of maybe a couple hours in Civilization, and I never really understood what I was getting myself into. So when diving into Humankind, I wanted to give this more of a go-ahead and actually try and learn the game as it is. Thankfully, Humankind does take note of players like myself. There is a mode you can choose if you've never played a 4X strategy game before, and that's what I did. This mode introduces you to the overall mechanics of the game step by step, and it kinda tells you what you should be aiming to do without directly telling you exactly what you need to do. In my opinion, it is both a benefit but also a con in the general grand scheme of things, because while I did enjoy the aspect of discovering what the potential is of what you can accomplish in the game, it also led me to getting a little bit lost in whether or not I was actually accomplishing the goals I should be aiming for at that point in time. For example, when you try and evolve into a new era, you need to have a certain amount of stars, and you get these stars by actually completing objectives that are noteworthy. Some of these are straightforward, such as increasing your population size or setting up more outposts and then linking them to your main city. But others, I wasn't exactly sure how I had to accomplish. For example, there's one about hunting, and I did attack animals that were roaming around on the map. I defeated them, but I wasn't getting any sort of points toward that star. I'm more than likely missing a pretty obvious solution here, or something that I'm missing. That being said, I am a new player, and this is my new player experience with the game. At the time of this recording, I can tell you that I'm between 6 to 7 hours in terms of actually playing the game, and while I do have a better grasp of what I'm trying to do now, there is an absolute ton that I'm still not sure about, and even more that I still need to learn. So if you're new to the genre like myself, just be prepared for a lot of reading because most of the tutorial is laid out that way, or be prepared to look up online on some videos, tips, guides, and other things. I know what I'm saying here mainly sounds like complaints, but if I'm being honest, it's the very same reason why I feel like this game is incredibly addicting. I finally understand all those memes about Civilization games kinda swallowing people's lives up whenever they release. The game just gives you so many options to choose from, you have so many choices to make, and the progression feels constant and also very effective. It's just an incredibly addicting gameplay loop, and the reason I have 6 hours clocked within one day isn't because I had that much free time, it's because I didn't want to stop playing. I actually just wanted to push out my first impressions video yesterday to have some gameplay on the channel of the game, but I actually ended up just playing for a lot longer than I expected to. Progress in Humankind didn't just feel like it was coming from within the game, but also within my own knowledge of the game's mechanics, and that just made me want to play more and read more about it. That's not to say it's a perfect game for everyone to pick up and play, because it certainly isn't. It's going to require a specific taste for sure. What I'm really trying to get at here is that from what I've heard in the past, Civilization is the style of game to really suck people's hours away as they get lost into the game. And speaking as someone new to the genre, I can tell you right now I'm having that very same experience with Humankind. I'm already sitting here thinking about my next playthrough, what decisions I'll make and what I'll change up because I know I made mistakes early on. I can't wait to try out different cultures and see how I can win by different means. Now, I do want to go over a few quick notes before we wrap this up about the Stadia version in particular. I got to try out the new control method exclusive to Stadia through direct touch on both my phone and tablet, and let me just say, the actual control method works well. It feels fast and quick just like using any other touchscreen app on my phone. That being said, with Humankind in particular, some changes certainly need to be made for an optimal experience. You see, the UI and text scaling doesn't really complement the game very well on a mobile screen. The UI just feels way too small to accurately click on consistently with your fingers. And text can be kind of difficult to read, and there's a lot of it in this game, which is a big issue. It doesn't seem like the UI adjusts itself for the mobile screen like other games on Stadia have in the past, so I'm hoping they end up patching this in. Direct Touch has a lot of potential for Stadia games in the future, and more games like this as well, but it does seem like some work needs to be done on the developer side to make it work more optimally and be fun to use. I also played a bit of the game on a controller, but that too just didn't feel as good as using a mouse and keyboard, which, to be fair, this game is built around. Besides that, the game does include state share functionality, but I haven't gone in depth on that, so I'll have to reserve my judgment for how well it works in a later video, as I do want to learn a bit more about the game myself before I start testing out some of the multiplayer functionality, which is also why I haven't talked about it here yet. I also need to point out that the Stadia port of the game does not support crossplay functionality, and I'm not gonna lie, that's a pretty big letdown considering the other versions of the game do support it, and Stadia out of all platforms probably needs it and uses it the most. Taking everything into account, I can say that I've had a great time playing Humankind on Stadia. While it is a lot to take in, I have enjoyed my time spent. I'd recommend this title to anyone who enjoys strategy games like Civilization, but also people who like board games. I will note that it isn't very newcomer friendly. You have to actually be willing to learn and read quite a bit before you come to grasps with the game mechanics, but once you do, it is incredibly addicting, as I mentioned previously. I do also want to give the heads up that I will be covering the game on GeForce Now, and I do have someone working on that review who is a longtime Civilization player and a big fan of strategy games like it. It'll be interesting to see their take on the game and what they think of it, because I have no doubt that it'll be very different from mine. Till then, if you enjoyed today's video or found it helpful at all, be sure to hit that like button as it really does help the channel out, and if you're wanting more content like this, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell as well. Today's end of video message is simply going to be asking you for your opinion on these style of games. Are you a fan of them, or would you be new to playing them like myself? Let me know your experience with them down in the comment section below. This has been the Virtual Cloud, giving you the latest and greatest on everything cloud gaming and VR related, and until next time, I'll catch you in the clouds.